Today we're going to make the Zenaida from Oro Rosa patterns. I have done it just a little bit differently. I added a bow and ears, which will be shown in the video. Zenaida is a handbag or a backpack. It is so cute. I love it. It's got the two side pockets. I put a magnetic slip pocket in the front and I put one in the back. Once you open up the inside, I use double pulls. I can't remember if she has you do that or not. You have a zipper pocket that I did just a little bit differently than what she does, and a slip pocket. Now the slip pocket video did get deleted, or rather I recorded all the wrong parts of the video. So oops. But I show you how to make the bow. I'm going to put the ears as a separate video because I think there's going to be a lot of questions about it. But I show you how to attach it in this video as well. For the bow, I just stitched the center on, but you'll see that as well. I hope you have fun sewing this with me, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Go ahead and grab your connectors, your straps, and your handles. Mark the centers of all of them and put double-sided tape down all of them. Let's go back to the connectors and peel the double-sided tape off. Go ahead and fold those raw edges into the center. I always like to start in the center and work my way out, most of the time at least, for like these smaller ones. You do it on the other side, you repeat for the other one, and that's it. Lay them to the side. Go ahead and grab your handles. This will be the shorter of the two, well, four rather. Peel the double-sided tape off and fold your raw edges to the center, just like we did. Okay, then on the strap, you're going to go ahead and the handle and fold it in half one more time. Hide those raw seams, and we will head to the machine after you repeat it for the other three handles and straps. Okay, I'm going to use Faux Suede. So I'm going to turn up to 5.5 stitch length on my Faux Suede, and we're going to stitch our handles, the shorter ones. Make sure it's your handles, with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. 3/8 this time. Make sure your handle is 3/8 of an inch. Did I say that enough? Then we're going to flip it around and go back down the other side. All right, here's what your handles should look like. Go ahead and repeat that same thing for the other handle at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, sorry y'all about stressing that 3/8 of an inch so hard. I forget it all the time. And if I don't do those handles first, I will sew them at 1/8 of an inch every time. But you don't want to. Now though, for your connectors and your straps, it's time to use your regular 1/8 of an inch top stitch. It's time for the strap. I'm going to sew across the short edge of one side so I can get up to that folded side, then pivot and sew down the rest. I'm just going to use that 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, the straps are done now. I'm just going to trim up any unevenness at the end. Okay, let's go ahead and finish up our handles now. So you're going to fold your strap in half. And I'm going to put a clip because I can't mark my suede. You're going to measure over as she indicates in the pattern. Okay, you want to start on that folded side. And we're going to start anywhere in between our clips. You want to stay in the middle-ish. We're going to use an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and stitch around the markings we made. So the center one doesn't really matter. You're going to sew down to this clip. Pivot and sew across. Pivot and sew back up to this marking. Pivot again. Once more. I'm just going to backstitch neatly. So on the right side of your handles, make a mark with a removable pen, or like me, I'm going to use clips. And then on the wrong side, put your double-sided tape. Then go ahead and grab your main panel. Find your center, then make your marks, and go ahead and remove your double-sided tape. I like the folded edge of my handle to be on the outside, so stick it down where she indicates. You should have used a ruler to keep it straight. Whoops. Then remove the other side of the double-sided tape and place that down, making sure your handle's not twisted, and using your ruler. And you can repeat that on the other main panel and then go to the sewing machine. I'm going to start on the outside of the handle, keeping a 5.5 stitch length and an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to sew up to the mark we made. We're going to pivot, sew across, and then back down. All right, we're going to repeat on the other side. I'm going to add a bow onto my bag as well as some ears. For this bow here, I used a 9 by 5 piece of fabric. It's 9 inches wide, 5 inches tall. I folded it right sides together so those long edges meet, and I just 1/4 inch sewed that long edge there. I've got one piece of interfacing. It's also that cotton firm interfacing. It's only on the 1/2 because it's thick interfacing. So I'm going to attempt to turn this right side out. Go ahead and press this. In retrospect, I should have put the interfacing in the dead center, because now I have like half an interfaced bow and half an uninterfaced bow if I put the seam to the center like you're supposed to. Okay, go ahead and take the short edges and fold them back around each other, overlap them like a 1/2 inch. Then you can stitch this down to secure it. All right. And then put it in the back center. Then you want to kind of like tri-fold your bow. And I'm going to put a little bit of Fabri-Tac inside those holes in the center so it kind of tacks together. Hopefully that'll be just enough to hold this together so we can wrap it around. I'm going to use this clip here and clip it together so it can dry. and then I'll be back. I'm gonna go ahead and cut like this 5/8 of an inch wide by 3 inches long little scrap of vinyl. On one side, I'm gonna put a piece of double-sided tape. I have 1/4 inch here. And then we'll pull this off. The side with the double-sided tape needs to go in the back. Then wrap your vinyl around. Make sure you cover up those raw edges in the back here and secure it down. Okay, now you see I have a little tail, but I'll trim that up in just a minute. But here's our bow right now. I'll come over to the back, trim that down, and then we'll place this on our bag. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone ahead and stitched on a bow. All right, so I'm actually gonna skip the front pocket and the flap closure for the slip pocket. So this is just the slip pocket, an exterior and a lining. And I also did a second one. So I'm gonna do one for the front and one for the back. We're just gonna put these right sides together and then we'll sew across the top at the sewing machine. Go ahead and sew at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure you have your stitch length turned back down. I'm gonna repeat with the second one. Go ahead and warm up your iron. Flip your pocket pieces open and start pressing them so they're wrong sides together. Go ahead and top stitch across at an 1/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go and take the pocket, front pocket we made earlier, and place it your exterior side up. And we're gonna clip the bottom on, and then these push in just a smidge at the top, so you get a little poof on your pocket. So just a little gap there so it doesn't pucker later. Then we'll repeat for your back panel. All right, we'll just go ahead and baste this on with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. After basting this on, I see how much the pocket could potentially gape, and I'm not okay with that. So I'm gonna rip open the bottom, and I'm actually gonna put a magnet in now. So what I'm gonna do is flip it to the lining side. I'm gonna find the center, and then I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch down from the top edge. Then I'm gonna go ahead and make my lines with my washer, my seam ripper, and rip out those holes. Then I'll get my magnet. This side will be the outie side. I'll grab a scrap of Decaville Heavy. I literally just had this over on my sewing table, so I'm gonna need to cut it down just a little bit. All right, this should be good. Then my washer. Then go ahead and place some like duct tape or a scrap of interfacing over the top of that. Okay, now that the duct tape's on, go ahead and flip that back down and then place it again. After you've placed it, you can push down in the center and you'll find a little mark there, so you'll know where to place your other side of your magnet. I find this really funny because I bet Alexis is like watching this right now and like, duh, that's why I had you make the magnet placement in the first place. Then you can place those together. You still want your sides to bump. That is what she intended. She also didn't want you to have a saggy pocket like I was trying to do. This is why I'm not the designer. Okay, so here we go. Little bump on each side. And we'll baste it on again. All right, I don't know what step's next, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the zipper panels. I'm gonna grab 1/8 inch double-sided tape and put it down the top edge, I guess, of my vinyl on one side and my waterproof canvas on one side as well. So just one side on all 4 pieces. If you are doing this with directional fabric or fabric you want to have displayed a certain direction, you want to use those inside edges there. Remember, you're going to put one side on the left when you put these on, if that's going to help with your direction picking. So it'll bend over like this. So if you have directional fabric, it needs to be the bottom of their feet and then their heads going up this way. I'll keep that there for reference. Same thing with the waterproof canvas if you're using a directional lining print. Now you'll notice I don't have any zipper pulls on my tape right now, and I'm going to leave it that way for the time being. I'm going to start with one waterproof canvas piece, so one lining piece. And pull the backing off. Then we'll go ahead and lay our zipper down on that double-sided tape, matching up the edges, making sure your zipper's nice and smooth. All right, we're going to do the same thing with one of the pieces of vinyl. Make sure you grab the right one. You'll notice this was cut kind of wonky, so I'm just going with the straight edge down here to match up, and then I'll just use my normal seam allowance, and I'm fudging that. So now we'll go to the sewing machine. Okay, go ahead and use your 4 stitch length and your 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and sew all the way down. Go ahead and press that open. Since I used a faux suede or a vinyl, I can't iron that, so I'm just going to finger press. So I'm back at my 5.5 stitch length and 1/8 of an inch seam allowance here. All right, let's go ahead and repeat for the other side of the zipper tape. All right, now that both sides are on, go ahead and put your zipper pulls on. I start with that rounded edge on the left, curve in my right, and push it on. And we'll come to the other side. I'll make sure it's lined up. Curved side left zipper, curve your right zipper to stuff it in there. Make sure you have no bubbles or bumps. And your zipper panel is complete. Go ahead and grab my side pockets and put those right side together. And we'll sew across the top and the bottom of these, leaving the sides alone. Okay, just like before, warm up that iron. Go ahead and turn these right side out and press. Okay, let's top stitch these, but just on the top side. Line these up where she tells you to on the pattern. We're going to clip this in place. And then we'll top stitch just across the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over first and do the other side of the gusset. All right, let's top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. So just like before with the front pocket, we're going to make these pockets pop. So we're going to pull them up till they're flush with the other side, the gusset, the side of the gusset. The raw edges are flush with the side of the pocket. All right, let's baste these on now. Now you'll need your gusset and your zipper panel. Got mine right side up right now. I'm going to take my this is my gusset, and put it right sides together with my zipper panel. Then I'll go ahead and flip it over and also put the lining right sides together. So I've still got this connected down here, as you can see, but I'm just going to bunch this up now and flop it over to the other side. Match up those exteriors, and then put the lining right sides together. I'm going to flip this around and continue stitching along over here. All right, here we go. Go ahead and flip those wrong sides together now with the gusset matching the gusset side. Double check that everything matches up. If it doesn't, go ahead and correct it. And then top stitch this seam right here. All right, let's go ahead and top stitch across. Then I'll pivot and baste my gusset lining to my gusset exterior. Okay, let's go ahead and find the quarter marks on this gusset by lining up the two seams and folding it in half and either clipping it or making a small snip. Then once you have all four of those marked, go ahead and fold those and match those clips up, and then make your other clips. Go ahead and grab your lining zipper panel and your zipper and put it wrong sides of your zipper to the right side of one of the short edges of your fabric. Then we can baste this on. So then go ahead and take this other edge of the zipper, bring it to the other right side of the short edges, and then we'll baste this on as well. Make sure your zipper pocket lines up the sides. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lay 1/8 inch double-sided tape across the raw edge of the zipper on both sides. For the zipper pocket side, I'm going to do it a little differently. I am going to find the center of my back side of my lining panel, and I'm going to measure down 3 inches, and I'm going to make a 7-inch box. Well, it's a line. It's not a box. Then 1/4 inch down from that, I'm going to make a 6-inch line, centered, of course. And then 1/4 inch down from that, I'll make another 7-inch line, centered. Then I'm going to grab my seam ripper. Starting at the start of the center line, I'm going to rip a hole. Then taking a pair of scissors, I'm going to cut a V-clip, I call it, to the outside line. I am clipping exactly to the end of that line on both sides. So you have this little notch out of it. I like to call it a V clip because my name starts with a V. I think it's a triangle clip. I don't know. I'm going to take some 1/4 inch double-sided tape and starting on the notched out side, that little short side, I'm going to put a little strip of tape right there on both sides. Then I'm going to come to the underneath the bottom line and I'll put another strip of tape. I'll do it on the top as well. So I peeled the double-sided tape backing off of the notched out side and I'll fold those notches back. Then I'll come to the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter. I'll fold that raw edge up to meet the top edge of my double-sided tape. Grab your zipper pocket we completed earlier. You'll see I have no zipper pulls on yet. I'm going to remove one side of the double-sided tape. And making sure my pocket is facing up. I'm going to flip my panel right side up and lay my panel on top of my zipper pocket. I'm going to match those triangle points up to the edges of my pocket panel. Once I have it straight, I'll push it down. I'm just doing this bottom edge right now, and I'm going to go top stitch across the bottom edge only, starting about 1/8 of an inch outside of the box and ending the same 1/8 of an inch outside of the box. All right, hopefully you can see where I'm starting pretty okay. I forgot to mention I leave my tails long at the beginning and the end so I can pull them to the back and tie them off. Just as an FYI as well, I usually only use about 1/16 of an inch seam allowance around my pocket just because I think it gives it a nicer look. So then you'll flip this down, press your seam down if you can. I do that by sticking my hand in there and pushing the seam down. Fold that down. Make sure your top side is still stuck down. Pull that double-sided tape off the other side. Flip it over. Get it flat and smooth where you like it, and then stick it down. Okay, I still don't have my zipper pulls on, but I am going to start top stitching on the hole we left off in. And we're going to stitch up, and pivot and go down about halfway. Then grab your zipper pull, flip this around, I find that easiest, and install your zipper the same way we did before. Back around, whoop, and sew the rest of the way down. One last bit here, we're going to sew this pocket shut on the side by folding the sides out of the way and stitching down the side. Now this slip pocket is done, we can move on. I have my back panel here and I made all the markings on my back panel that I needed for the connectors and the straps. We're going to go ahead and take our connectors and put them, the connectors, through our rectangle ring. The wrong side needs to face each other, and they'll fold over each other just like that. Then we'll lay the connectors down. I'm gonna let these ends hang off about a 1/2 inch. Then we're gonna come up to the straps and we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna start on my connectors. I'm about 1 stitch away from the start of the connectors, so I can stitch the bag to the connector, and then I'll stitch 1 stitch after the connector as well. Then we'll come up to the straps and we'll do the same thing. I'm going to take the zipper pocket, since this is the back, and put it wrong sides together with the back. I like my zipper pocket on the back side, but you do as you want. Then we're going to go baste this on. All right, let's go ahead and baste around. Okay, so this is the tricky part of installing the ears on the Zenaida. I'm going to eyeball it, is what I'm going to tell you. I need to sew like into this ear to be able to get it to stay standing up. If you sew it down at the bottom, it's going to be pretty floppy, right? See how you can see that? But if I hold it up here, it's not as floppy. So you want to catch a little bit of that. I'm going to follow that curve still. So pretty much I'm going to line this up on my curved edge, which is actually perfect with this Zenaida for these ears. So I will catch it with my 3/8 of an inch seam allowance when I'm sewing this on later. So this is my front side, so I'm going to lay it right side down on that curved edge and curve it into place. Then I'll clip it on. I'll flip this over and I'm going to hold this in position. Now you see I got it, it's too high. That's a floppy ear. So I'm going to redo it. Might be easier doing it from this way, so I can see my curve here and the curve on my ears. Let's try lining those up. My clips here should be about a 1/2 inch, so they're going to be a little bit too big to give me an accurate look at what this will look like from the other side, but it'll be pretty close. So we can flip this over now, fold our seam allowance in, and check out our ear. If you like it, let's go on to the next step. Your other one on, same way. I just replaced that one ear, I think 4 times to get it to line up to where I wanted it. So just play with it. I've got the trick. It is to line the ears up 2 inches away from the center is where the ear should start on both sides. 2 inches is the trick. Okay, I'm gonna baste these ears on, and then we'll baste the back on. All right, I've got my lining with my slip pocket on the back side of my main panel. We'll baste around. You're gonna take your zipper panel and find that center mark you made earlier and match it up to the center mark on your main panel. I always start with my front panel because that's the most important, and I would like to be able to see it all the way to make sure I caught everything the way I want to. So I always start with my main panel when doing something like this, and then I'll do my back panel. So far I'm just laying a couple of clips down, and I started curving this around. I'll come down to the bottom before I get too carried away here and match up the center marks down here. I'm gonna go ahead and clip a couple down here as well. I like to do just like the straight edge, and then I'll come back up to the top and like curve it in with my fingers here. And just keep going around. Down at these curves here, you can ease it in or snip 1/8 of an inch in about every 1/2 inch and get it to ease in that way. Then we'll go to, well, come to the front. Check your front. Make sure everything's lined up where you want it. Your pockets are straight. And then go to this machine. All right, I'm gonna use a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and a 4 stitch length. I'm gonna sew with my lining side facing up at me right now. Before I do absolutely anything else, I wanted to flip this over and ensure I caught everything. So I'll like open my seams like that and make sure they're all caught all the way around. You know, make sure everything looks nice. It's all lined up where you want. After you've ensured everything looks okay, go ahead and trim your seams so they all are at a 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And yes, that does include your little mouse tabs here. We're gonna go ahead and bind our bag now. And then we'll repeat this whole process for the other side, but I'm gonna do that off camera and then I'll come back. But I'll show you the basting for this side. So I fold my waterproof canvas. These are 1 1/4 inch strips because this can be kind of thick. I fold them in half and just place it right over the edge as flush as you can of your bag. Keep folding it in half and going around. At this curve here, I'm going to fold it in half, wrap it around tightly, and fold it over, clip it down, and then come back and ease this corner or this curve in. Then we get back to the beginning. I go past my clip just a little bit and trim it. Then I fold that raw edge in however much I feel like, and then overlap it. And then we'll go to the machine with the gusset side up. All right, with a 5 stitch length, I'm gonna sew all the way around using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, last chance here to check your ears and make sure everything else looks right. If everything's good, go ahead and do your back, and I'll see you when you're ready to turn it out. Okay, now that both sides are bound, we can go ahead and turn this right sides out. You just unzip your zipper and then pop everything out. So I like to run my fingers along the binding and press it, like squish it together. So you can feel that binding kind of wrap around even more. Give you that nice, good curve. Your bag is done here. Oh, you can't see. There we go. All we have left to do is put our strap slides on. So here's my strap slide. I'm going to start by putting my strap through the top part of the strap slide. I'm calling the top the non-welded side. We will put it through the bottom. Leave a loop. Come from the bottom of the rectangle ring to the inside of the bag. Then take your loop or your raw end, go back up the top, fold it over the center ring now by going back through the bottom and folding it over about 1 inch. I'm going to put a little clip here, and then I will punch a hole and add a rivet, and then my strap is done. And then go ahead and repeat for the other one. All right, friends, you did it. You've got a convertible backpack, Zenaida, potentially with mouse ears and a bow. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Drop them below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Bye.